Imagine a world where the simple, involuntary act of breathing transforms into a calculated risk, a gamble with unseen odds. In such a reality, our lives become a constant negotiation with the air as the very atmosphere turns hostile. Each day, a creeping realization takes hold. Every breath we take will be treacherous, filled with particles too small to see, but potent enough to alter the course of our lives. This world might sound dystopian, even distant, yet it mirrors the experience we all endured during the COVID 19 pandemic. During the pandemic, our bustling cities fell silent under the weight of fear. The usual hum of activity was replaced by an eerie stillness, punctuated only by the wail of sirens and the whisper of masks being adjusted over anxious faces. Masks became our constant companion, thin layers of fabric separating us from an invisible enemy. We learned to measure our distance, to breathe behind barriers, to place our trust in the fragility of cloth and the space we maintained between one another. Breathing, once an act performed without thought, became a deliberate, mindful practice. We held our breaths in crowded lifts, exhaled cautiously in supermarket aisles, and inhaled deeply in the sanctity of our own homes. Breathing turned into a dance, a careful choreography of survival. We navigated our world with a new sense of awareness, hyper attuned to the presence of others, to the shared air that connected and endangered us. The news during those days was filled with numbers, cases, deaths, recoveries, statistics that quantified the impact of a virus but failed to capture the essence of our collective breath, the shared experience of living through a pandemic. We became adept to reading these numbers, interpreting graphs and charts, finding some semblance of understanding in the data. Yet, behind every number was a breath, a life, a story. The pandemic taught me to appreciate the simple act of breathing, to recognize its power and its peril. I became acutely aware of my own respiration, of the breaths I took and the breaths I held. In the quiet moments, I found myself listening to the rhythms of my own breathing, finding solace in its steady cadence and fearing the day it might falter. But as the world began to heal, the air slowly losing its menace, we emerged from our cocoons of isolation. We gathered cautiously, still wary of the air between us, but grateful for the chance to share it once again. The masks came off, revealing smiles that had been hidden for too long, and the act of breathing returned to something closer to its former self. Effortless, life-giving. Years have passed since we emerged, and while we are changed, we weren't entirely transformed. The memory of those months linger in our collective consciousness, a reminder of life's fragility and the importance of every breath. Yet, we did not learn to treasure the air we share, to respect the invisible bonds that connects us, to never take for granted the simple, profound act of breathing. Returning to normal meant filling our lungs with air rife with invisible threats. The air, polluted and tainted by industrial activity and human negligence, carries particles and toxins that pose a danger as real as any virus. Unlike the pandemic, this threat is not fleeting. It is a persistent, insidious presence in our daily lives. I could present the numbers of diseases and deaths caused by air pollution, statistics quantifying its impact, but like the pandemic, they too would fail to capture the essence of our shared experience of living in a world where the air is increasingly polluted. So instead, I will offer photographs and sounds, descriptions of my experiences and the emotions they evoke. Because it wasn't just the numbers that was arresting about the pandemic. It was the sight of empty streets and their eerie silence, the new smell and taste of clean air as human activity slowed, the stories relayed to us while we remained indoors. Through these narratives, we developed an understanding of a virus we couldn't see. We each emotionally understood what was required of us, our cooperation. So we stood with our families, neighbors, and at times strangers. Nations and corporations united in finding solutions. In a remarkably short time, we found one, actually several. The same could be true for air pollution. And that is why I write these stories and turn to photography, to create a conversation with the invisible, to make the unseen seen, and to inspire action. Through images and words, we can build a collective understanding and a shared resolve to combat this persistent threat.